Thank you very much again, especially to those who explained us the foreign other systems working in the NatCat issue. Now I will speak about the German solution, the solution of the German insurers. I'm representing the German Association of Insurers and therefore welcome again on the hosting German market. Yeah, first I will start when I designed a few days before the slides of my presentation. I decided to give you the news of the last week first. There are some interesting news with regard to our main issue today, the flooding system here in Germany. Then a brief introduction to the property and casualty insurance market and GDV's work. Then information about our voluntary private NatCat insurance system we have we are running within the German Association, and about some examples about activities to raise awareness for natural hazards and prevention in Germany. And let's start with the main news we have. Again, the pictures we heard about today. The main news is that last week on Saturday we had a conference of German States Ministers of Justice, and they gave a recommendation. There is no need for a compulsory insurance scheme for natural risk in Germany. That's a real news because there is still ongoing discussion, as you know. The idea of compulsory insurance scheme in Germany is still alive, starting with 2003 event and continuing after 2013 event. And the main recommendations of last week are the better way, rather than to establish a compulsory insurance scheme, is to encourage the public to purchase insurance on a voluntary basis. The density, as you know, is currently about 40% this year, but practically all buildings are insurable. There is a question, why is this so? And for this, it is necessary to make the public more sensible of the danger posed by natural hazards. It is necessary to start a nationwide federal educational campaign. It's for the first time that the ministers are aiming this, and it's necessary to start a federal public internet portal. We still don't have. We have some similar activities in some federal states, but not for all the people in Germany. And similar recommendations have already been made by the conferences of ministers of environment and finances, and from the prime ministers of all the federal states as well. And we can say, hopefully, the discussion on compulsory insurance scheme for natural hazards in Germany finally comes to the end now. Let's see, that is not the final decision, but the pre-final decision, I would say. Yes, last week, the president of our association said, insurance coverage alone does not prevent disasters. Mandatory insurance can therefore only be the last resort. The best protection that people can get is prevention together with insurance. That's the main point of view from German Insurance Association. Brief introduction. That's a GDV. We are the umbrella organization of the private insurance industry in Germany. As you may know, more than 500,000 people working in the insurance sector, in the private insurance sector in Germany, and our association is representing the interests of more than 460 insurers, primary insurers and reinsurers. The share of German insurance market is #1 in non-life and #3 in life insurance. That means is you have the main representatives here, mainly of the reinsurance industry, you know, and some other representatives of the primary insurance industry as well are here too. Let's have a look into the figures. This is the number of insurance companies within the GDV. We have half of our members are property and casualty insurers. That's the structure I come from. I'm responsible for the committee for Central and Eastern Europe. We have the chairman here, Mr. Thalmeier is our chairman of the Committee of Central and Eastern Europe. But the main topic today comes from the Steering Committee on Property and Casualty Insurance. There are two subgroups. It's a private customers and commercial and industrial customers issue. Coming to the figures, 1/3 of the premium income comes from property and casualty. The main players on the German primary insurance market, you can see here, 60% are the top 10 on the market. Property insurance is the number one in the property and casualty insurance as a whole. Most of the premium comes from the motor insurance. Yeah, the benefits paid out in 2014, quite good development, but you see the main problem, that is flood and hail, that we are discussing about today. And the underwriting results, the same picture. Bad years, 2003 and 2013. The main losses came in 2013, 7 billion euro. There was a flooding of 1.8 billion euro and a huge hailstorm. Maybe you have never heard about this, but that was the main issue last year, 2 years before. And for comparison, you can see the famous storm Kirill in 2007. And at the end of this slide, you can see the Munich hailstorm of 1984, yes. And you can see what we had in 2013 in this regard. Yeah, let's come to the flood events of 2002 and 13. As we learned this morning, history repeating in 2013 election year, again large-scale subsidies for those uncovered. Nobody asked why uncovered, and mostly the people asking, why did I buy cover in the first place? It doesn't make sense to buy. That is the main conflict between insurance industry, politicians, and the public we are discussing today. But for this time, 2 years ago, the debate took another road. Politicians finally realized that the insurance industry is actually able to cover nearly all NatCat risk in Germany. This is the main signal we gave to the public, and as we learned on the first slide, they understand, and they made a decision last week. This is the private structure of German NatCat insurance. German federal government is not involved in any kind of risk transfer mechanism. Financial backstops, of course, yes, but federal states are now and in the future partners in the NatCat campaigns to raise risk awareness and market penetration. And only the 16 German Bundesländer, the federal states, are responsible for flood prevention measures. And I hope this system will work on. The standard cover covers only wind and hail. It is 90% of all the buildings are covered with this, and 40% have a nat cat package cover on a voluntary basis. It's a package, as we learned today. The client can make a opt-out or opt-in decision by his own, and then he has flooding, including heavy rain and severe backwater, earthquake subsidies, landslides, snow pressure, avalanches, and volcanic eruptions. That's what I said. Demand is modest, but steadily rising. I will give you a picture at the end about all the 16 federal states in Germany and the development of the last 2 years. There are no standard premium rates or deductible provided by the association. It's a very important fact. Insurers must calculate them using statistical data and management ratios, risk-based pricing system we have here. But there is provided a zoning system, SURS Geo. It is a zoning tool. It is an online risk assessment tool for the insurance industry to calculate the premium and the risk. At the heart of the SURS Geo system is a Geo database which uses address information, road network, house number data, and all the data that comes from the water boards, from the water authorities in Germany. And that gives the chance to find the answer to the question, is this building insurable or not? We have 4 zones. The highest threat is the zone number 4, with this is flooded at least once every 10 years, up to the zone number 1 with very low threat, and to be flooded less frequent than once every 200 years. The highest threat zone is approximately 1% of all the buildings. Number 3 is again 1% approximately, then 8%, and the very lowest threat zone has about 90% of all the buildings in Germany. Yes, there are limits, of course, of the system and of the risk. And but only 1% of all the buildings are located in zone 4 with the highest threat of flood. And in this case, a further on-site risk assessment is needed. This is the decision of each of the insurance company by themselves to cover or not to cover. And as we learned, at the end, after all the risk assessment processes with the client, with his home, with his house, that only 1.3% of all the buildings remain uninsurable. And that's a fact. That is a limit of the open system, of the open voluntary scheme we have in Germany. Yes, our scheme we were run in German Insurance Association is the one and only we have in Germany. As you know, Germany is a federal republic with 16 federal states, and there is no one authority or other organization collecting and analyzing all the data of Germany. That's what are doing me with all the water boards we have about 200 authorities collecting data in this flooding issue, and we are collecting them and implementing them into the system we build, and we providing to our member companies. Every year we have an update, and the latest update comes at the end of June with new detailed information coming from the water boards again with regard to the flood management directive. There are new data of floodplains, new postal addresses, and some moves between the different zones from last year to this year. 96.6% still in the same risk zone, 2.6% in the lower risk zone, and 0.8% in the higher risk zone now. Here you can see, yep, this is the whole picture of each of the Bundesländer. Some examples what kind of change we have within the THYRS system scheme. Left side is before implementing new data, and right-hand side examples after implementing new data from the water boards. We have an annual relaunch of guidelines. Maybe you mentioned it. It is in front of the conference room. You can find this with all the new data available from year to year. We are doing in-depth research on climate change. Maybe you heard about this. Some years ago we started with this, and the first results were published in 2011. Is this kind of brochure you will find in front of the conference room. First results, yes, a major storm, as we measure at around 50 years, will most likely have a return period of 10 years in the second half of the century. This storm will account for about 7 to 8 billion euro per storm, and by comparison the figure is for Kirill, I told you. Losses due to flooding will most likely double by the end of the century, depending on the scenario, even triple. Flood events with the return period of nowadays 50 years will most likely occur every 25 years in the second half of the century. Yes, we have an annual NatCat report published by our association. You will find it in front of the room as well. And we have some additional activities on the market together with the public and with the government and the governments of each of the 16 federal states. For example, we are developing since 2012 an internet portal for the people. Inside there are data coming from the THYRS scheme, but it looks like more simple for the people using this, and it is official internet site coming from the governments of the federal states. We have a flood resilience certificate. This is a tool for the people in the highest risk zone, number 4, to find cover. They have to do some more than all the other clients to find a solution in partnership with the insurers. And at the end, in the first step, they will get a report with smileys or not. And if there is not a smiley, but a bad situation, they have to take experts from the insurer. Yes, there are a lot of prevention work in a German association, a lot of flyers for the clients with recommendations to find cover to prevent losses for mostly each of the risks, natural hazards. Yes, altogether it is very helpful, as you can see. Before the NatCat campaigns and NatCat activities on the German market, the development of density of 10 years later, we added 2.5 million buildings to the system, and the market penetration rose by 40%. What is that? 83? No, 40%. Yeah, the penetration is 35. This is the last year figure. This year we decided to say 40. Because of this, we have from year to year we have a development, and here you can see the development from 2013 to 2014. And this year we decided to say we have a penetration in Germany of the scheme of about 40%. My last slide, bring it into the...
Maybe bring one back, just so
yeah?
Could you explain Baden-Württemberg?
Baden-Württemberg. Yeah, this is a special topic. You know that we started with this with the insurance scheme after deregulation in the beginning of the 90s only. And at that time, in Baden-Württemberg, we had a monopoly of 100% of fire insurance, including natural hazards. And from that time, they still have such a huge penetration of nowadays 95% of all of the buildings in this federal state. Yes, to bring it in a nutshell, we have a free market risk-based building insurance with online risk assessment tool. We have a decision about governmental activities, such as campaigns to increase awareness, such as public geographical information system on natural hazards, and at the end to encourage sustainable loss prevention with the introduction of a flood resilience certificate. And this is the whole picture we have in Germany with regard to natural hazard cover.